Hi, my name is Lori Seibel, and welcome again to an edition of Breaking Ground, where we're talking about new health innovations that are happening right here in Lincoln. Today we're going to be talking about hands-only CPR. It's a new project that's happening, and it's a way for people across our community to get involved really in the business of saving lives. So today I am going to be talking to Assistant Chief Pat Boever from the Lincoln Fire Department, and he is one of the principal folks in this project that is going to be taking it out to the community. So welcome, thank you for being here. And Pat, I'd like you to tell us about what the purpose of Hands-Only CPR project is.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show, and thanks to the Community Health Endowment for making this all possible.
Oh, you're welcome.
The purpose of our project this year is just to teach as many people in the city of Lincoln hands-only CPR as possible. Because what we think will happen is, well, we know what will happen is it will give a person another chance at life. A person that had a heart attack or something like that. You know, the research shows that up to 4 times as many people are willing to do hands-only CPR without the breaths as those that require breathing when you're doing CPR. So we think that'll take place, and that's our whole purpose.
So the bottom line is to make this procedure of cardiopulmonary resuscitation more accessible to people by just doing the cardio part, is that right? And by just using the compressions on the chest as opposed to the resuscitation through the mouth. Yeah,
and it's all, both of them are accessible, but it's really a matter of willingness. People have a reluctance to do the breathing part, as you suggested. That's the traditional CPR, is to do the compressions and the respirations. But the new hands-only CPR, which has shown to be at least as effective as the traditional method of hands and breathing, this is hands only, compressions only. And research shows that people are more willing. Both are accessible, but people are more willing when they don't have to breathe for someone.
Now, you said something there that I think will be the #1 question of people. Is it as effective to do hands only as to do the full CPR?
The research shows, and going back to the research by some very credible institutions out there, that hands only is at least as effective as the traditional method of breathing and compressing.
Well, that's great news, I think, for a lot of people who sometimes think it's a complicated procedure or that it's something that they may have to do mouth to mouth. Mm-hmm. This changes the whole scope of things and gives everybody a chance. I mean, really, why wouldn't someone want to be able to be trained at this? Really, what would be the reason why someone would say, it's not for me?
Well, that's what we're hoping that people ask, and there really isn't any good reason. I mean, statistics and research shows that 80% of the cardiac arrests are in the home, and so again, why would you not want to do that? And those that are not in the home, again, if you're a bystander and you witness it, and this is about bystander witnessing, and we'll talk about some more about those kinds of details, but if you were a bystander and you saw someone go down, and you know that you only have to do hands-only compressions, why would you not give that person a second chance at life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm out in the community. I'm in a Nebraska football game, and I see a person go down. Big question people are going to have: how do I know if I'm supposed to start any kind of CPR, let alone hands-only CPR? So tell us about what I need to know. Okay,
a couple things. You're right about the old method, the traditional method. There's a lot of steps and a lot of parts to it, and another one of the pieces that made people reluctant was, did I forget a step, or did I miss an important piece of this? Did I do it wrong? This hands-only is really simple. There's only 2 steps.
Okay.
The first part is witnessing. I witnessed someone go down. So the first step is to call 911. Get the professionals on their way. And then go check responsiveness.
And you wouldn't have to do that. You could ask somebody else to do that,
absolutely,
right? Okay.
Absolutely. If you're in a group of people like the Husker football game, somebody there will have a cell phone. Just say, call 911, and then go check responsiveness. Just shake them. Just, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And if it's not a cardiac event, they're going to respond to you. You'll know. But if they're having a cardiac event, then all you have to do is put your hands in the center of chest, press hard and fast, 100 beats a minute, until the professionals arrive. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
And Very you can save simple. A life that way.
And you can save a life.
With that simple method.
You can save a life.
Now, 100 beats a minute, that seems like a lot. Mm-hmm. And I asked somebody before we started filming, what's 100 beats a minute? And somebody said if you remember the song Staying Alive, that's about 100 beats a minute. So I won't make you sing that for us.
Okay, good.
But that I thought was a great way to think about what 100 beats a minute would be. Now I also know that when you watch TV, sometimes you, in the TV versions, they don't press very hard. But this, you give a pretty good pressure to the chest, is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, when we talk about hands-on, we talk about for adults. First of all, when you're talking about compressing, you're talking about two inches. So that's a pretty good compression of someone's chest.
Yeah, that's
pretty good. And it takes a lot of effort to do that, a lot of strength. And so children are probably not going to be able to do this. We're talking about primarily teenagers and adults. So teenagers and adults compressing the chest 2 inches to that 100 beats a minute, staying alive at that rate until some professionals arrive.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that sounds, it really can be that simple. I mean, and I think your job is going to be, and you've, as part of this project, is to convince people it's really that easy. And that's one of the purposes of us talking about this today, is saying everybody should be ready and willing to go to bat for a person who goes down like this.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this, Lori, because this, it started with Lincoln Fire, but it's really, our intent is for this to be a community project. Again, I want to give credit where credit is due. The Fire Chief, John Huff, he had this idea that we can teach the community how to do hands only and increase the communities, or those members of the community that do have a cardiac event. We can increase their chances of survival. And so, although that's where the idea started, Community Health Endowment is making this possible. We are partnering with the Lancaster County Health Department. We're meeting with Lincoln Public Schools, University. We're willing to have any partner come on board because we really feel this is a community event. This is not just Lincoln Fire. This is a community event.
Wouldn't it be terrific, really, if Lincoln stepped up as a community who said, for purposes of our neighbors, our friends, the people that we congregate with, that everybody had this ability. I think that would be just such a challenge for us to think about how Lincoln could model this for other communities, because it is so simple. It's really simple.
Yeah, there are some national organizations that we're reaching out to, and they have some national campaigns, and we hope to beat them. So we hope to be that. We hope to be that model community.
Well, Lincoln could do it. Yeah,
absolutely.
We can do it.
I think we can do it.
So tell us some of the things that are going to be happening in the next couple of months as people start hearing more and more about this.
We really just got started. The grant helped us hire a part-time person to facilitate and to coordinate and to do the bulk of the work, since the health department folks and the fire department folks are pretty busy on their own. So we hired someone to help us out. And he just came on board, and he's meeting with various groups across the community. In the first part of the year, right now, we're developing our message. We got a new website, easycpr.com.
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 Is it org or com or org?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. It's .org.
Okay.
.org.
Good.
Thank you. And so we're developing our message in the first part of this year. We got a year grant from CHE. And in the middle of the year, throughout the summer months, we're going to get that message out there. We're going to try to advertise it as far and wide as we can go. We're starting to set up meetings with radio and TV and other avenues for advertising. And then in the fall of the year, those are big events. We're going to be working again with Lincoln Public Schools, hopefully athletic events where there are lots of people, and working with them and other schools, systems in the community. And then actually before that, we're going to work with businesses to teach small groups and perfect our message. Okay. So that's kind of the plan for the year.
So people should be hearing about this very soon. People will have an opportunity to be part of this. And really, when you think about it, it's such a small, how long is it going to take a person to get trained?
It's just a couple of minutes. There are a number of, you'll see once our website's up and running, we're going to have links to a lot of YouTube videos, and some of them are as short as a minute.
So we're talking about a very small investment of time that could save the life of your loved one, your family member, your neighbor. Again, I go back, why not?
Yeah.
And I can't think of a reason. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of why someone wouldn't commit to this training, and I cannot think of a reason. So that's our challenge, is to make people aware of it.
You bring up an interesting point. Why wouldn't someone want to do this? And when you're doing compression only, you might break a rib, or you wonder, am I hurting this person? But what would be worse? To break a rib and have it heal later and not have that person survive, or not have that person survive. So it's really about maybe an injury, maybe, if you do it, maybe, or and life, or not doing anything because you're concerned you might do something wrong and have death. So you're right, why would we not want to do it?
Well, Pat, I appreciate the time that you came and talked with us today. In a little bit, we're going to be hearing about the actual method, showing the method, how it works, and we're going to be talking to a survivor, a person who experienced a cardiac event and who was revived using this method. And so stay tuned for lots of exciting information. And I challenge you, and we challenge the entire community, both Pat and I, to listen hard for this information coming up, to be ready to be engaged, and to get trained to save a life. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Wally Boever. I'm 60 years of age, and my wife Katie and I were married in 1973. We were blessed with 8 children and now have 26 grandchildren. I've been running since my freshman year in high school. I was involved in track and cross country, and then in the 1970s running became more popular. There were more road races. I just continued on, and since the 1970s have probably averaged running 20 miles per week during the past 40 years. And what I had been told over the years as a result of that regimen of exercise and my physical condition is that I was at low risk for a heart attack. I had just turned 60 years of age 4 days before May 1st. And runners are one of the small groups of people that look forward to birthdays that transition them into a new running category. So I was excited. I was moving into the 60 to 64-year-old category. And so for a whole year I look forward to the Lincoln Half Marathon. So it was on a Sunday, May 1st, beautiful day. My son John and my daughter Ann also participated, so the 3 of us got up early that day, and we really were looking forward to the day. It was actually quite a good running day. I believe it was in the mid-40s, maybe low 50s, sunny, and no wind, so it was perfect for runners. While running the half marathon, I had crossed the 10-mile point, and I was somewhere between the 10-mile point and the 11-mile point in the half marathon when all of a sudden my left arm went completely numb. And I knew right away that that was not good. I knew that I was experiencing a heart attack. I'd never had any of those symptoms before. In fact, in the last 40 years, I think I've missed 1 day of work, so I've been very blessed with good health over the years. So when my left arm went completely numb, I thought I've got to get to a spot where I can sit down very quickly. I was in the far outside lane on 10th Street, and so I had to cross in front of the runners, and I only remember my arm going numb and about another 3 or 4 seconds, and then it was a complete blackout. I have no memory beyond that point. What I'll recount now is just what I've been told by bystanders, by those who assisted me, and so on. One of the runners, a Sergeant Ryan Sullivan, saw me quickly make a right turn to cross over in front of the runners. And then he said I started to look like I was stumbling, and I don't recall that at all, but he came immediately to my assistance, and he said that he asked me, "Are you okay? Are you doing okay?" And I didn't respond. I was still standing, I think stooped over, but I didn't respond, and I have no memory of anyone approaching me asking me those questions. Then he said I breathed my last breath. I collapsed, I'm assuming in his arms, or at least he was bracing me up. And about that time, another runner came by and saw that he was supporting me and said, "Do you need help?" And then he quickly turned around, and his name is Dr. Rick Heirigs, NHI, a cardiologist who practices in North Platte, Nebraska. And so Dr. Heirigs and Sergeant Sullivan pulled me to the grass and started CPR. At first they made sure that 911 had already been called, and a bystander assured them that 911 had been summoned, and so then they proceeded with CPR. I'm guessing that between my last heartbeat and the time they started CPR, it was probably a matter of 15 seconds. So it was very quickly initiated once they secured the information that 911 had been summoned. Another passerby, he was actually driving a car on the way to church, so he had his suit on. His wife was with him and his children. And he noticed that there was a runner that was struggling, that was being supported by Sergeant Sullivan. And so he stopped his vehicle, his wife took over, and he proceeded to assist. He arrived, and he had also been trained in the traditional CPR, and so he took over the respiratory part of it. And his name is Dr. Neil Millard. He's a cardiothoracic anesthesiologist at Bryan. And so the three of those men initiated CPR. The two runners, Sergeant Sullivan and Dr. Heirigs, took turn doing the compression, so that they kept that going constantly. I'm so very grateful to those three men, because they did not give up on me. I did not respond, but they continued on until the Lincoln Fire and Rescue arrived. They tried defibrillator twice while I was still on the ground. I had no response. They either had me already on the gurney, or else they loaded me on the gurney and into the vehicle. And from what I am told, they defibrillated me once or possibly two more times in the vehicle. And on that final try, the third or the fourth try, they showed some response. And from there, quickly got me to Bryan East. And from what I understand, the staff at Bryan was aware that I was on my way. The Lincoln Fire and Rescue had called ahead so that they knew what to expect, what my vital signs were showing. And so they went right into action. Dr. Coatsworth was on the scene. They got me into cath lab right away, performed a stent, and then went through recovery. Of course, by then some of my family and friends had arrived, and the next thing that I remember after running those 10.5 miles was waking up groggy. All I can say is that that chain of survival, starting with the call to 911, and then the quick response of the bystanders, of the by-runners, and of the by-driver that came to my assistant, and getting CPR started right away. Without that quick response, I'm quite confident that I would not be here today. Or if I did survive, I would be much more impaired. I'm so grateful to them, because that CPR gave me a chance at life again. It made it possible for my vital organs, my brain, to have the circulation of blood and oxygen that those organs needed to stay healthy. So CPR played a vital role in where things are at today. Now I am promoting CPR for everyone, not just medical personnel, because you never know. You know, I considered myself to be a healthy individual and as well as my family members. But if it can happen to me after the years of watching my diet and exercise and being what I thought was a low risk for a cardiac event, it could happen to anyone. It could happen to your loved one, to a child, to a neighbor. I've heard a lot of stories since my event about how other individuals have suffered cardiac events and the situations that they were in, not really knowing the signs maybe about a heart attack, and then neighbors and family members really not sure what to do. So I would encourage everyone to learn CPR. Take a look at the hands-on only CPR, where it focuses in on the chest compression, hard and fast, frequent thrusts to the center of the chest. That can save lives. It's very important, I think, that we communicate this to the broader public. After Lincoln Fire and Rescue arrived, the two runners saw me off in the ambulance and then proceeded to finish the half marathon. And so they had quite a day. They ran 13.1 miles and saved a man's life by giving me CPR.
That's great. Hi, I'm Lincoln Fire and Rescue Assistant Chief Pat Boever. Firefighters are always there to help those in need, and we pride ourselves on being fast, skilled, and efficient at our jobs. We can be anywhere in the city of Lincoln within a few minutes, but even that short time before we arrive may mean the difference between life and death when someone suffers a cardiac arrest. So if you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse,
are you okay? You okay?
Call 911 and then push hard and fast in the center of the chest. It's called hands-only CPR. There are only 2 steps to save a life, and no mouth-to-mouth is required. Push hard, about 2 inches deep, and push fast, about 100 compressions per minute, or roughly the beat of the disco song, Staying Alive. For more information about hands-only CPR, please visit easycpr.org or call 402-441-6264.
Thanks for joining me on this edition of Breaking Ground, where we learned about an exciting new project in this community, hands-only CPR. What I learned is that if you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast on their chest, and you could save a life. Again, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.